Hey, Facebook family out there. My people, Ben Rose's people, you've been tagged for a reason. We're interviewing the legacy of Ben Rose out of Portland, Oregon. One of the nicest guys who will always talk to everybody. He'll always be respectful and answer what you ask, help you with tips. If you ever go to Portland to do comedy or watch it, find Ben, he'll make you laugh. He's just a natural and he's relatable. He's not out there trying to be something he's not when he's on stage. He really is making fun of his own life, and he's just hilarious. He's opened at Harvey's for big names. Mark Christopher Lawrence, sound familiar? Yeah, he's open for him, and many more, but he's humble, so we're gonna stop there, because what's important today? Getting to know Ben Rose off stage, behind the mask. Yeah, here we go. Welcome to the little tiny stage of Comic Spot. My Ben Rose out of Portland, Oregon. Hi, Ben.
Hey, Linda, how you doing?
I'm having fun doing comedy interviews. How's your freaking life? I just had a cockroach crawl on me.
It's going all right. Been staying in this my girlfriend's one-bedroom apartment for most of the last 3 months. Give you a little digital tour.
Nice.
That's the end. That's it. It's a very small apartment. But
Yeah.
we are moving in about within the next month. We'll be at an actual house with room and a yard and things.
Wonderful. So do you have pets for the yard?
Yeah, I got one cat sitting on my lap right now. This is Penny.
Hi, Penny.
She's got a little Norwegian forest cat in her. Another cat and a dog around. I think they're chilling in the back. And then at my apartment, I also have another cat. So altogether, we have 3 cats, 1 dog.
Cool. What kind of dog?
I'm really shitty with dog breeds. I don't know. I usually just say the color and the size. So he's a black dog and large.
Black, full size. I get it.
Full
Kind of
size, yeah.
like cars. They come like cars for you.
Yeah. It's too many to memorize. I just haven't put any. If it's a Dalmatian, I can name a Dalmatian. That's about it.
I think that in a joke, a Weimaraner is the funniest.
Oh yeah. I have no idea what that looks like.
They're just gray and they just kind of look at you. They look dumb, but they're probably very smart, but they look like deer in the headlights. Like me.
Yeah, I got cousins that look like that, yeah.
Well, tell me about your life growing up. Where did you grow up? Who told you you're funny? How'd you get into comedy anyway?
Grow up, young kid, kind of grew up in Northern California, just out in the redwoods, literally in the woods. My bus ride to school was about an hour long. Played a lot of Game Boy on those rides to school. And then it was right after a week after 9/11, we moved up to Oregon, to Southern Oregon, Coos Bay area, little tiny shitty town of Coquille.
Yeah. And so what age were you when you went to Coquille?
I think it was like 11. I just remember it distinctly because it was, middle of 7th grade. So the school I originally went to, my elementary school, it was a rural one, so they had to deal with like budget cuts and all that stuff constantly. So they actually shut down the middle school. So the first 2 weeks of 7th grade were in like this weird trailer. Like they had 2 teachers for my middle school in California. One was in one trailer and one was in the other trailer, and then twice a week we would swap trailers.
Oh my
god. And then a week after starting that, moved up to uh, moved up to Southern Oregon, and yeah, it was like literally a week after 9/11.
Wow. What was that like, the transition to a different state after 9/11, new friends?
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, I don't know. I've always been like pretty casual. It wasn't like hard to like necessarily like make friends or anything. But I had kind of like an early growth spurt, so I think everybody thought I was, an eighth grader, even though I was really a seventh grader. And for one of my electives, I took band, which because I hadn't done before, I did percussion, but I had to be thrown in the sixth grade class because it was like a middle school situation. So they had sixth, seventh, and eighth grade at the middle school, and because I hadn't had any band experience, they threw me in band with the sixth graders, and then all the eighth graders thought I was an eighth grader.
Jeez. Is that when your comedy started coming out? I think that would make an introvert or a really confused person start telling jokes.
I think it probably started a little earlier than that. I think I've always just had kind of like some underlying level of social anxiety. So comedy was mostly came about, I think, as just a crutch for that. Like, you know, like it's just kind of learned like, oh, if I'm just kind of funny and amicable and like I can whatever, just make people laugh, and it's like, you're providing that kind of like entertainment function, and that gives you some sort of like social value, and so like focusing on that, you can kind of it helped me like kind of like deal with the social anxiety kind of aspect.
Absolutely. I totally relate to that. When you're making people laugh, I mean, it's a great equalizer and it calms people down and
Absolutely, yeah.
makes them love you, stuff like that. So, when did you the very first time you got on stage, Ben, when was it and how scary or fun was that?
Oh, first time on stage, I think technically I hadn't like started doing stand up. I was still in like I did my high school's the town I went to high school in Oregon was called Coquille. It's this like tiny town in nearby like Coos Bay, sort of towards the Oregon coast. We had I think we had about like 78 people in like my graduating class. So it's tiny town, tiny high school, but they had little like Mr. Coquille, like male pageant sort of thing that they did every year, and so I joined that, and for the talent section, I did stand up. I did a mix of I wrote like a few of my own jokes, and then I just like plagiarized a bunch of like Mitch Hedberg jokes and maybe a couple like Zach Galifianakis jokes or something. That's just what I was like listening to a lot at the time. So I kind of did that and like mixed it in with some other stuff, and I think I raised about $12 for Dornbecker's Children's Hospital.
Well, good for you. That's a great cause. Keeps you humble too to raise that amount of money, right?
Yeah, other people raised way more, but I got that 12. So whoever got that straw or whatever, you're welcome.
So, when you were doing that comedy in front of the people at your high school, how do you feel your comedy went, or how nervous were you to do it?
It's a weird thing. Like, I mean, I don't know, like this, but like sometimes it's like when you get on the stage thing, it's kind of like you're nervous up till that point, and then once you just start doing it, you're fine. Like,
Yeah.
so I definitely had that experience. Like, kind of like you go up and you're doing like comedy stuff, and you're kind of bigger, like than yourself for like that moment, and you kind of just like, you either lean into it or it freaks you out. And then I felt comfortable just kind of leaning into it, and I don't know, it felt good, it felt fun. Like it was like kind of that, like, when somebody like tells you something's like really difficult, and then you like do it for the first time, and you're like, this is actually not that bad.
Yeah. And then
It was almost kind of like that feeling.
that's cool, man. When was the very first time you got on a comedy stage in a club or bar?
Yeah, I think that would have been Curious Comedy about a year after I moved up to Portland. Graduated college, moved up here to Portland, and it would have been Curious Comedy. And so much more nervous to doing that for the first time. Wrote all of my own awful jokes at the time. No, like once you like kind of start doing comedy like in the company of other comics and regularly at like actual places people are trying to like work on comedy and stuff, you kind of realize, oh, this is a whole process, and I'm just starting, and I'm bad at it.
Exactly. So is that like in 2012 that you started at Curious?
Yeah, that would have been like 2012, 2013, something like that.
So you're like in comedy now 8 years. Got a lot of
Yeah,
years.
been at it a while. I think the first couple of years, though, I kind of, I would kind of go up maybe once a week. I wasn't like hitting the open mic circuit hard. I would like for the first like 2 years, I would do like maybe one open mic a week, and then get scared and shit my pants, and then like I'll be back in 2 weeks.
So have you done road comedy in your 8 years of comedy?
A little bit. I've done a few road shows. I haven't done like a whole like road tour or anything necessarily, but yeah, road shows are fun. I did a show in Bend last summer. That was a lot of fun. I went up there with Chase Brockett.
Love him.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I got pulled over twice. I drove us. I was like opening for him, but I got pulled over twice because I had expired tags on my car, and literally, I mean, I'll talk about fucking like white privilege shit. The cop pulled me over, and he was like, you know, for the tags thing and for speeding, and was like, well, I need your like license and shit, and I gave him that, and I was like, oh, also the address is wrong there, and he's like, and where's your insurance? And I was like, I have Geico, but I don't have a card on me. I have to download the app. And he literally he looked at me and he was like, well, I mean, given the situation, I could literally fine you for thousands of dollars and throw you in jail right now, but I guess I'll just give you a speeding ticket and fix your fucking tags.
Wow. Got lucky. One time I
Yeah.
had expired tags in my car, and I had an extra car. I had junkers.
Oh yeah.
And so
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with that life.
so I took the license plate off one car and put it on the other car and drove it and got caught.
Oh, nice. Sneaky little Linda over there. Wow.
Yeah. I was a gangster in my prior days. Now I'm straight up comic. So what's going on as far as your goals in comedy? Where do you plan to go with your comedy now that you've made it through most of the pandemic?
I don't know. It's so weird right now with everything. I haven't really done much with the kind of like online open mic and show kind of stuff. I don't know. It just feels like we're in this weird phase where comedy is just in this kind of like hold. Like we're just like, and with everything with the pandemic, I mean, how our response to it has been just so botched and chaotic. We're literally like, unless they figure out a vaccine within the next year, it just kind of feels like stand-up comedy anyways is just like in this sort of like stasis kind of mode. So with that being the case, you just kind of have to like express your comedy in whatever other way you can, like whether it's just through like writing like Facebook posts or Twitter or whatever. I've kind of been like sort of like flirting with the idea of like starting like a podcast sort of thing, but it's kind of, I mean, like everybody,
Yeah.
like everybody has. So I don't know. I don't have like a solid idea or concept to kind of like throw on it yet, but that's kind of like where I'm at with comedy, I guess. Just kind of looking to pursue like other avenues that are more like online and digital and something like that, rather than like the traditional stand-up, because that's impossible right now.
Yeah. They've reopened a lot of Vegas, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a show I went to the other night, and I got a spot on it on the show for this coming Monday, and I'm going to go to that. But pretty much resigned to staying at home, and for some crazy reason, I have no fear to go to this show. So that's about it, But if I do get the virus, I'm going to be a goner. So I'm in that
Hope
category.
not.
I don't know if you noticed, but I'm old.
Wear your mask, Linda. Wear your mask.
I need a much larger mask.
You're like a respirator.
Yeah, I need.
Bring your own. Bring your own oxygen spacesuit to the mic. You'll be all right.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, but I went to this bar to watch a show the other night, and it was full of a bunch of veterans. And you know how I love doing comedy for veterans. And I'm like, I want to go on stage. I've never said that before. I've never walked in a bar and said, I want to go on stage. I've always wanted to scope it out, but I wanted to go up there so bad.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
Yeah.
go. I've been doing the Zoom things, the Zoom mics and shows.
Yeah, you've had sounds like you've had like a lot of like pretty cool guests and stuff.
Yeah, that too. But I've been going on people's mics and shows.
Oh, okay.
And trying to break that wall that we have between us. Like I'm not crazy. I just look crazy. I'm trying to make people laugh through this barrier we have. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't messed around too much with like the kind of like online like virtual kind of shows and stuff like this. How's it? How do you feel about it? Like, how would you compare it to kind of traditional stand-up?
Well, I'm kind of like picky about the mics and shows, because if I go in the room, like they let you in the green room and you get to see the people that are going to be watching. And if I don't feel like I can relate to those people, like if I couldn't relate to them in person in a bar, which is very rare but there are times we all go in and go, you know what, this isn't the crowd for me. And I did comedy for one crowd that I wouldn't have been able to relate to at a bus stop, and it went horribly. And maybe I need to not look at who's in the crowd, but you do get that opportunity. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make these people laugh. Sure enough, I didn't. So, but then I've had a few good ones, and last night I had a great one. So it's up and down.
Yeah, I haven't really done any since the pandemic started, but I did do a few kind of virtual open mics. I forget what the name of it was, but it's based down kind of by like LA. I'm blanking on the name right now. I'll see if I can remember it. I'll bring it up later if I can. But yeah, it was this weird kind of like format where they had actually like their audience was just like they'd try to like invite other comics over to like watch the show. So they'd have like 8 people in their living room, and then they'd stream it. I think they'd streamed it on, I think it was on Twitch. So they used Twitch as the platform, but I just remember it being so awkward because there's also, you have that like time delay. Like there's this that little bit of like time delay when you're like for when you get like the audience reaction sort of thing to your joke. So it's just like, and like obviously like comedy is so much about like stand-up comedy, especially just like kind of like responding kind of like with that audience kind of interaction a little bit, so that like that weird like time delay kind of just makes you feel a little bit like just one step removed, like you're just like, well, I'm just gonna tell my jokes and just hope you're laughing at it, because I can't like it's hard to like process the feedback with all the time delay awkwardness.
Yes. Do you remember me talking about when I went to New York and I was with Comic Strip Live at the Gladys Simon room?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I think I remember that story.
Because last night I was on the Gladys Simon party, which is every Wednesday at 5 Pacific. I would love to see you get a hold of Gladys and get on her show. She has actual agents and bookers watching.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she gets people on to shows, and she's gotten people on to late night. I'd love to see her see you. That would make my existence worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, I might need a week or two to kind of brush up. And I feel kind of a little out of practice.
I
But
bet she would get behind your comedy because it's good, it's smart, and it's engaging, and you're likable, and you
well,
know.
thank you.
Yeah, I'd love.
I
Oh,
yeah, I'll give it a shot. Send me that
cool.
info.
Okay, I will. That'll be so cool. Because you'll just shoot to the moon if she gets behind your comedy. And
I hope so.
seriously, I should have started 40 years ago and met her. She's been getting people on stage and getting them to top level for like 40 years.
Nice. Yeah, you're one thing you're great at is you got that kind of networking ability for sure.
And I'll
I
pass.
feel like I don't have that gene quite as good as you got it.
Boy, there's a lot of talent out there. By doing these Zoom things, I find out so many wonderful things about people and all the years and who they've opened for. And
Mm-hmm.
well, I have a question for you. So like people now know who you are as, growing up and getting on stage and doing comedy, but what are some things you do when you're not trying to be funny? What do you do to decompress with your girlfriend or in the course of a week, not during a pandemic? What personal interests do you have that are make people fall in love with you? People relate to
um,
you.
well, yeah, I can turn this into a little uh, Tinder bio. What are my interests? I enjoy hiking, but I'm literally sitting next to a backpack to prove it. Uh, we're going hiking just kind of out, somewhere off the highway. We have like coordinates to a spot that we're
Wow.
going to for a couple days. I've always kind of like dabbled in video games and stuff. I'm more like I never like buy anything like when it comes out. I'll like wait till something goes on sale like 3 years later and then play it. But then like you can't talk to anybody about it because everybody's excited about the game when it comes out, and you can't come out like 2 years later like, have you guys heard of Call of Duty? It's so fun. Uh, but I also I'm excited to because we're moving to a new place next month, and I haven't really had enough space for it. But I also kind of like dabbled in kind of like some woodworking stuff. My dad was like a carpenter, so I just kind of grew up with like a wood shop garage kind of setup. For a couple of years, I worked when I was in college, actually, at Oregon State University in Corvallis. I did a few years in the theater scene shop. I had like a work study kind of situation with the college to work in the theater department, kind of like building all the sets and props and everything. Yeah, I really enjoy just kind of like building stuff like that, kind of doing those like little like special projects. I remember one time in the theater department, I got a little bit like, I mean, not pissed, but like I was maybe a little bit annoyed because they wanted a like sextant, which is this kind of like for one of the plays, it's this sort of like you know uh, medieval to like like it's just like ancient instrument to kind of like help you navigate using like the stars and stuff, but it's kind of like got a little bass and it's got like a few like movable parts kind of thing to help you like you can adjust. And so they were like, here's a picture of a sextant, could you build it for us? And I think I literally used a hat box and an old lightsaber to and just like other just random shit I found down in the basement dungeon just to like build the sextant. But I tried to build it like so good. I spent like so much time on it. It looked beautiful. It was like it like it didn't move or anything like but it like kind of looked almost like the picture. And then it was I watched the play that it was in, and it was literally in it for like 5 seconds. Like somebody, it's like sitting on a table in one scene, and somebody immediately walks in, picks it up, and takes it backstage. That was been like 3 weeks building this thing, and just that's the showtime it got.
Jeez. Well, it's been so good to get to. I've hung out with you at clubs and tried, getting to know you. And the person you get to know when you meet Ben Rose, by the way, you guys, is exactly what you're seeing right now. He is.
I've only got one level.
Yeah, and it's real and it's funny. And he's like this on stage. And you just feel like there's so many comics that get up there and they hide behind their words, their persona, their clothes, their props, their guitars, not Ben. So when you get a chance to see Ben Rose, take the opportunity. Go. Where can people find your comedy? Do you have any of it online?
Yeah, I've posted a few videos. You can look me up on YouTube. Just type in Ben Rose Comedy. I've got a few videos on there. I'm also have you ever heard of the like what's the website called? Gig Salad?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm on that like Gig Salad website. So if you're in the Oregon, Portland metro area or whatever, you can hire me there.
Wonderful. So on Gig Salad, do you go to like home parties and?
Oh yeah, the most awkward, most awkward gigs. Yeah.
Do you have any funny stories from that?
Yeah. So this was, I mean, this was several years ago, so much worse comic than I'm barely scratching the surface of trying to be decent now. But this was like several years ago. I actually got Brian Bigsby to open for me for this show. It was around Christmas time, so you get like a lot more gigs around like the holidays, and some of them wind up being these like weird corporate like, oh, the HR person's into stand-up and wanted to hire a comic for the party. But they're like, it just never really goes that well. Like you're just in this weird situation where it's like people who are like coworkers, so it's like that's their relationship. It's this kind of like professional kind of like seeming thing. And so this was for a corporate kind of gig like that. It was for a bunch of steel mill workers and their like wives and stuff. So they had like a DJ on first, and then they gave us like the address they sent was like slightly off. So I was driving. It was me and Brian. we like literally drove by the place 5 times trying to find it because the address was off. uh, Eventually we finally like make it there. I had the lady who like was hiring me for the gig should like drop a pin on Google Maps and like send that to me kind of thing. But we finally got there, but we were like 30 minutes late. So they already kind of like off on like a bad foot. Like they're like kind of like this. We hadn't gotten there sooner. So Brian, he's kind of like a darker comic, so he like, and they're pissed. Dark comedy in a room full of like angry steel mill workers. It was a tough mix. So he was supposed to do 15. The girl who, the lady who like hired us, she starts waving her phone at him after 5. She's not liking it. She's just trying to wave him and get him off stage. And then I go up. I'm supposed to do a half hour. I get, maybe 12 minutes into my set, and I don't see her with the phone though. I couldn't see it. So instead, there's a fog machine on stage. So she starts firing the fog machine at me. She fires the fog machine at me twice, and I'm like not taking the hint, and then she cuts the lights out on stage, and I'm like, thank you, good night.
Oh gosh.
I guess I'll take the hint. And literally this room of people was like there was like one person's like, drunk wife who was having a great time. Love her. She was like when you start in comedy, you always like you kind of look for that like one person who's laughing and you're like, I'm doing good, and then you get better and you like look for the one person who's not having a good time and you're like, they suck. But luckily we had that one the drunk steel mill worker wife lady who was having a good time. She was digging everything. But everybody else was just sitting there like arms crossed, just like, mate, this is comedy. These fucking kids up there, like, that was their attitude. And literally I think while we were leaving, I had to go back in because I forgot my coat or something. And they were gonna have like maybe a band come up after us or something. And somebody yelled out like, "Bring up the band!" And somebody's like, "Hope they're better than the comics." And I was like literally like walking back in the room to like grab my shit, and I'm conflict avoidance, so it's like, thanks guys, and run the fuck out of there. But we didn't get paid either way, so still got paid for that. Just
good. The weirdest thing I ever did was they sent me over from the VA hospital in Portland to go entertain a bunch of people at a rehab facility, and I had specifically asked that I could do the comedy for the people that were veterans in rehab, sick and hurting, lonely, whatever. And no, they give me an employee meeting of volunteers that had to come in from the greater Portland Metro, St. Helens area to a mandatory meeting to hear things in the meeting that were on the wall all week before. They literally every week had to come to hear the agenda they had read every day. They're sitting there like this, just like that. Mm-hmm. It was almost horrible. I went there 5 weeks in a row with 5 different styles of comedy and 5 different sets of crappy jokes. And I couldn't get a laugh out of these people. I almost wound up in the hospital.
Yeah.
Screw that.
It's tough in those like awkward situations where it's like they're like predisposed to like, like not enjoy the situation. And it's always like, I don't know, like it's so different from like performing in like an actual comedy venue or a club or something, because it's like at least the people there are like showing up because they want to hear comedy and like experience a show. Like that's it. Or even like at a shitty bar when you've got like three drunk people, like at least they're drunk enough to I don't know, like think about acknowledging the experience as like positive. But in that kind of like corporate setting, it just feels like forced and like some comics like can thrive in that situation. I have a terrible time trying to like make a bunch of people who are like yeah, arms crossed, like who the fuck thought this was a good idea? Like,
Exactly.
and trying to force a laugh out of those people. I
Oh,
don't know. Most of my stuff is like self-reflecting, like like depression shit. So yeah, a bunch of steel mill workers. Yeah, go tell a bunch of steel mill workers how sad you are, and see if they laugh. It's,
I'm such a
that doesn't
people
turn out well.
I'm such a people pleaser. I went home and I called the guy at that gig and I said, "Well, it doesn't seem like they like that kind of comedy. Can you
Yeah.
can you ask them what kind of comedy they like? I'll do anything, right?" And I kept doing
Uh,
that. Turns out they just didn't like me. couldn't get couldn't fix that.
yeah, it's tough. It's tough out there.
Anyway, so it hurts when your own veterans don't like you, but I get it.
Well, I like you.
Thank you. This has been so fun to get to know you. Do you have anything kind of funny to tell people how to get through the rest of this pandemic, or funny observations of people during the pandemic that make us laugh at ourselves? Like
Yeah,
my
it's yeah.
my favorite thing that I say is that I I have really enjoyed the pandemic. I mean, not the pandemic, but what I've really enjoyed, because I'm 69 years old. This is literally the first time I've ever seen every man wear protection.
There you go.
That's it.
Nice.
That's all I got. It's the funniest it can be. What about you? Do you have anything funny that you've observed?
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know, like it's mostly like uh dark in my head though. Like this whole situation has been so like stressful and stupid. It I don't have like a good like line prepared for it, but
That's okay.
just like literally if you're the only person out there without a mask on, you're not some brave hero. Like you're the dude in town who's like the only guy on a unicycle. Like you're everybody's looking at you weird because you're a fucking weird douchebag. So just put on the mask. Stop. You're not an independent, brave freedom warrior. You're just a douchebag.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your opinion. You know, as Vegas starts to reopen and places are reopening, you wonder if the mask is coming off too soon. And I'm still trying to stay distant. In a crowd, I'm going to wear a mask, so I'm going to look kind of goofy in some places. But yeah, you have to do what you feel is right and comfortable.
Yeah, I mean the numbers don't lie. Like just the mask thing. Like literally, if we just had everybody wear a mask, like how the transmission kind of rates and everything interact, the infection rate would drop below zero, and the infection would die out. So literally, if we could make everybody just wear a mask every time they're in public, uh, the pandemic, the infection would like slowly die away. But because we can't do that because we're a bunch of fucking idiots who can't keep our like people in check. We have these douchebags want to be freedom warriors like refusing to wear a mask. But I mean they're wearing pants, so get over yourself. So we can't do that. So and we don't have the adequate like testing and contact tracing in place. Yeah, it just seems so stupid. Like it's like literally we have government for a reason. They got a couple jobs that they need to do well, and they've just botched this whole thing. But it's like we're literally just sitting back and being like look, like if we just wear a mask, and people are like, no, it's my freedom.
I don't trust the government. I'm not wearing a mask.
Yeah, like okay, you don't
There's
need
no,
to trust the government. Trust just experts on disease.
yeah. Or like, do what you think is right. Do what you think is wise. And,
Mhm.
like if you're not comfortable, like we have to do what we feel is the safe thing for us. We can't fix the world. The other day I was walking in the middle of Las Vegas Boulevard because there were a bunch of tweakers on both sides of the road.
Mhm.
This had nothing to do with the mask. It had to do with using my brain. And a
Yeah.
cop pulled me over and he goes, "You can't jaywalk." And so the sarcastic part of me said, "I'm not jaywalking. I'm walking along the street in the middle. Jaywalking is this way, sir," which is the last thing you
I
want
can
to
just
do.
stay on one side. You're fine.
And he goes, "How come aren't you walking on the sidewalk?" And I said, "Because there's scary people over there and scary people over there." And he goes, "Then why don't you stay home?" And I'm like, I was thinking, but I didn't say, "Well, how's that working for you?" You're, so
Yeah, well, he can't stay home. He's got to, harass people not harming anybody.
yeah,
Just
it's like, tell the old lady to stay home because she's scared instead of buckling down on crime and making it safe for the old lady to walk not in the middle of the strip.
yeah, really, really making society better there.
Yeah.
Great job, buddy.
And then when I got home, I thought, the song I should have sang to him is "Tweakers on the left, tweakers on the right, and I'm stuck in the middle with you."
There you go. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much, Ben Rose, for this time and coming on to Comic Spot and let me interview you. I want the world to know Ben Rose because he's brilliant and he's humble. Hear him laughing when I say he's brilliant. He doesn't think he's brilliant. That's the brilliance behind Ben Rose. He is
Well,
just,
thank you, Linda. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
thank you.
And good job with this whole thing. It seems like
Thank
it's
you.
it's been a pretty cool thing for you, and you've had like amazing guests on and everything. So yeah, great
Thank,
job.
thank you so much, Ben Rose. Take it easy and tell your girlfriend hello and goodbye.
All right. See
She's
you,
great
Linda.
back there. Bye.
Everybody's talking.